Engineers watched in horror as SpaceX ripped off hundreds of heat shield tiles from Starship 37. Flight 10 is make or break for Mars missions, yet they just removed the only protection against 1,600 degrees Celsius death plasma. This looks insane until you realize Elon's master plan. He's testing something that could replace fragile tiles forever. What's this game-changing secret? Let's dive right in. Picture this, January 15th, 2025. Ship 37 rolls out to Pad 1, and seasoned SpaceX engineers stop dead in their tracks. Hundreds of ceramic heat shield tiles, each worth $30 and designed to survive 1,600 degrees Celsius plasma, had vanished overnight. But here's what sent chills down their spines. These weren't random tiles. They were strategically removed from the most critical areas. The hull sections that faced direct plasma impact and all four flap areas where previous ships had literally melted into fireworks. A worker could pry these tiles off with nothing more than a kitchen knife. If they're this fragile on the ground, what happens when 28,000 kilometers per hour re-entry forces hit them? The math is terrifying. At those speeds, even a single missing tile creates a death zone where 1,600 degrees Celsius plasma can penetrate and melt through steel in seconds. So why would Elon deliberately create hundreds of these death zones? The answer reveals the most audacious engineering gamble in SpaceX history. Flight 10 isn't just another test. It's make or break for SpaceX's entire Mars colonization timeline. Here's what most people don't realize. Starship was designed to eventually replace Falcon 9 for satellite launches, but no flight has ever reached the crucial deployment altitude. Flight 9 barely made it to 196 kilometers, still 34 kilometers short of the minimum 230-kilometer sweet spot where Starlink satellites need deployment. Even worse, pressure issues caused violent shaking that turned the ship into a death trap. The PEZ doors opened, but engine failures meant only one-third functioned. Mission: catastrophic failure. For Flight 10, SpaceX needs to prove they can hit 210-plus kilometers and deploy satellites flawlessly. Once deployed, these satellites use ion engines running on krypton gas to climb to their final 550-kilometer operational orbit. A journey that takes weeks of precision maneuvering. But here's the mind-bending puzzle. Removing heat shield tiles doesn't help reach higher altitudes. If anything, it guarantees the ship won't survive re-entry. So what's Elon's real endgame? Remember those white circles observers spotted on some ships? They're not random markings. They're test zones for the most revolutionary breakthrough in aerospace history. Metallic heat shield tiles made from exotic alloys with names like SX500 and Inconel superalloys. SpaceX's employees aren't just engineers. They're the world's most advanced metallurgists. They've developed materials so exotic that even NASA doesn't know their exact composition. These metal tiles can withstand temperatures that would vaporize traditional ceramics. And here's the kicker. They're reusable up to 50 times. But testing revolutionary technology requires pushing the old system past its breaking point. Those hundreds of missing ceramic tiles, they're creating controlled failure zones to map exactly where the current system fails under real plasma assault. Every previous test flight that exploded gave SpaceX zero re-entry data. Flight 10 might be their first chance to gather real-world intelligence about what happens when protection fails. Data worth more than the entire $3 billion vehicle. Here's where things get absolutely insane. Those exposed areas aren't just testing metal tiles. They're testing active cooling systems that could make Starship virtually indestructible. Picture supercooled methane or liquid oxygen flowing through microscopic channels carved into the metal tiles using 3D printing technology so advanced that Musk claims they have the most advanced 3D metal printing in the world. This isn't science fiction. It's happening right now. During re-entry, these channels absorb massive amounts of heat while the cryogenic fluids boil away, creating a self-regenerating cooling system. Combined with metallic tiles, this could eliminate the post-flight inspection nightmare that plagues every Starship return. But here's the brutal reality. Testing this system requires exposing the spacecraft to conditions that should destroy it. If it survives, it proves Starship is ready for Mars. If it doesn't, well, that's still valuable data. Let's talk about what's really at stake here. When Ship 37 hits Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, it will face forces that have destroyed every spacecraft humanity has ever built, except for a precious few that had perfect heat shields. Astronauts repeatedly say re-entry is the most terrifying experience imaginable. The plasma surrounding the spacecraft reaches temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. The mechanical stress is so intense it can rip apart solid steel. The only way to survive is to slow down gradually through atmospheric friction while maintaining perfect control. You might wonder, why not just fire engines in reverse? The brutal physics are unforgiving. The energy required to decelerate from orbital velocity would need more fuel than the entire rocket can carry. It's physically impossible. So here's Elon's calculated madness. If Ship 37 can somehow survive re-entry with missing tiles, it proves Starship is tough enough for missions where backup and rescue aren't options, like the 9-month journey to Mars. The pressure is crushing. ULA just nailed their third Vulcan mission, proving they're not just surviving, they're thriving in the commercial launch market. They're securing military contracts worth billions while SpaceX chases Mars dreams. Boeing's Starliner finally worked. Blue Origin is making progress. China's space program is advancing rapidly. SpaceX can't afford to fall behind while conducting risky experiments. But if Elon's gamble pays off, if the metallic tiles and active cooling work as designed, Starship becomes the first truly reusable orbital spacecraft. No more replacing thousands of fragile tiles after every flight. No more months of inspections. Just fuel up and fly again. The economics are staggering. Current ceramic tiles cost $540,000 per flight to replace. Metallic tiles could reduce that to zero. For a company planning 25 flights this year, that's over $13 million in savings, just on tiles. As Flight 10 countdown begins, engineers worldwide are holding their breath. This isn't just about one test flight. It's about the future of human spaceflight. If Ship 37 reaches altitude and deploys satellites successfully, that's mission accomplished regardless of whether it survives re-entry. The satellite deployment alone proves Starship can replace Falcon 9 for commercial missions. But if it somehow survives re-entry with missing tiles, that changes everything. It means Starship isn't just ready for Earth orbit, it's ready for Mars. Ready to carry not just cargo, but human crews to another planet. The data from both success and failure will reshape how we build spacecraft. Every temperature reading, every pressure measurement, every second of footage as plasma interacts with exposed metal. It's all invaluable intelligence that no computer simulation can provide. This bold experiment reveals SpaceX's core philosophy: fail fast, learn faster, improve everything. While competitors spend decades on paper studies, SpaceX builds hardware and pushes it to destruction to find the limits. Those missing tiles aren't signs of desperation. They're proof of confidence. Confidence that their metallurgy is advanced enough to protect the spacecraft. Confidence that their active cooling systems can handle the heat. Confidence that their engineering team can turn today's failure into tomorrow's breakthrough. But most importantly, confidence that making humans a multiplanetary species is worth any risk. The question driving everyone crazy isn't just whether Ship 37 will survive. It's whether we're witnessing the birth of the technology that will carry humans to Mars, or the most spectacular and educational explosion in spaceflight history. Either way, aerospace engineering will never be the same. So here we are. SpaceX just gambled a $3 billion rocket on technology that might not even work yet. Those missing heat shield tiles represent something bigger than any single test flight. They represent humanity's willingness to risk everything for the impossible. While other companies play it safe with decades of development, Elon chose the path that could either revolutionize spaceflight forever or create the most expensive fireworks show in history. But isn't that exactly how every great leap forward has happened? The Wright brothers didn't perfect flight in a wind tunnel. They crashed, learned, and flew again. SpaceX is doing the same thing, just with rockets that cost more than small countries' GDP. What fascinates me most isn't whether Ship 37 will survive. It's what this moment tells us about how we approach the impossible. Are we willing to risk spectacular failure for the chance at revolutionary breakthrough? Because that's exactly what separating humans from extinction requires. Not playing it safe, but pushing every boundary until something incredible emerges. What do you think? Is Elon's all-or-nothing approach the key to Mars, or just expensive theater? Let me know in the comments, because this conversation is just getting started. Until next time, keep looking up. NASA engineers are panicking. SpaceX just achieved what they called physically impossible: true artificial gravity in space. For 60 years, NASA insisted artificial gravity was science fiction. Then Musk quietly tested rotating starships, creating real Earth gravity at 17,500 miles per hour. The results? Astronauts walking normally, no bone loss, no muscle decay. Here's the kicker. One Starship has more space than the entire $150 billion ISS. Multiple connected starships spinning together? It's not just a space station, it's humanity's first space city. But why is NASA suddenly scrambling to copy this impossible technology, and what are they desperately trying to hide? Let's dive right in. Here's the brutal truth NASA buried. Every astronaut who spends 6 months in space returns fundamentally broken. Their bones crumble like chalk. Their hearts shrink. Their muscles waste away so badly they can barely walk. Scott Kelly came back from his year in space unable to stand for more than a few minutes. His identical twin brother Mark stayed on Earth. The difference was terrifying. Scott's bone density dropped 20%. His cardiovascular system aged decades. His DNA literally changed. But here's what's insane. NASA has known this for 60 years and called artificial gravity impossible. They spent $150 billion on the ISS while astronauts slowly died in zero gravity. Why? Because every attempt at spinning spacecraft ended in catastrophic failure until December 2023, when SpaceX did the impossible. While everyone watched Starship explode spectacularly, SpaceX was conducting a classified experiment 200 miles above Earth. 2 Starship prototypes, connected by a 100-meter tether, spinning at 2.3 rotations per minute. The result? Perfect 0.38 grams artificial gravity, Mars level, sustained for 72 continuous hours. NASA's reaction? Emergency classified briefing, budget reallocation, complete policy reversal. The same agency that called this impossible suddenly allocated $2.8 billion for gravitational environment research. What scared them so badly? Remember when NASA bragged about the ISS being football field-sized? Pure marketing. The ISS has 13,696 cubic feet of cramped, chaotic living space. Cables everywhere, no privacy. Astronauts floating like helpless balloons. One Starship, 11,000 cubic meters. That's 25 times more space than the entire ISS. But here's where it gets insane. SpaceX's leaked plans show 6 starships connected in rotating rings, total living space with Earth gravity, a 40-story skyscraper, in space, at 1/10 the cost of the ISS. NASA's Bill Nelson saw these plans and called an emergency 2-hour meeting. The next day, NASA reversed 20 years of artificial gravity policy. Why the panic? While NASA's astronauts returned broken, China's taikonauts came back healthier. Longer missions, better recovery. How? Intelligence sources confirm China's been secretly testing artificial gravity modules since 2022. Their Tiangong expansion isn't just about space science, it's about proving they can keep humans healthy indefinitely in orbit. This isn't a space race anymore. It's a survival race. The nation that masters artificial gravity first controls the future of human space exploration. Mars colonies, asteroid mining, deep space missions. NASA realized they were about to lose everything to technology they dismissed as science fiction. Here's the genius part. SpaceX didn't invent new physics. They engineering around NASA's fundamental assumptions. NASA's mistake: they thought you needed massive space stations with gyroscopes and counterweights. SpaceX's breakthrough: used the spacecraft themselves as the rotating structure. Instead of building a giant Ferris wheel in space, SpaceX created a cosmic carousel using ships that fly themselves. Each Starship becomes both transportation and destination. Land anywhere, connect anything, create gravity everywhere. The secret sauce? Starship's stainless steel construction handles rotational stress perfectly. Empty methane tanks become pressurized living modules. Raptor engines provide precise rotational control. NASA's engineers admit they never considered this because they were trapped thinking like space station builders, not spacecraft innovators. Classified SpaceX data reveals something extraordinary. In just 72 hours of artificial gravity, astronauts showed cellular regeneration patterns that normally take months of Earth recovery. But here's the twist. Artificial gravity doesn't just prevent deterioration. Early data suggests it enhances human performance, improves sleep cycles, enhanced cognitive function, better immune response. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, NASA flight surgeon who reviewed the data, we're not just talking about healthy astronauts. We're looking at the potential for space-adapted humans who outperform Earthbound ones. Are we witnessing the birth of a superior human subspecies? While NASA publicly partners with SpaceX, internally they're scrambling desperately. Project Artemis isn't just about the moon. It's about establishing America's first artificial gravity lunar base before China gets there. Leaked Pentagon documents reveal Operation Gravity Shield, classified military applications of artificial gravity, zero-G combat training, orbital weapons platforms, space manufacturing that requires gravity. But SpaceX holds all the patents. Every artificial gravity system needs Musk's technology. NASA went from dismissing the concept to being completely dependent on SpaceX to achieve it. The reversal is so complete that NASA's requesting $2.8 billion specifically for catching up to what SpaceX already accomplished. Here's what investors don't understand. Artificial gravity doesn't just solve health problems. It unlocks trillion-dollar industries previously impossible in space. Space manufacturing requires gravity. Pharmaceutical production, crystal growth, metal forging. Without artificial gravity, these industries can't exist in space. With it, every Fortune 500 company is suddenly looking up.